her question, Dominic, is specific for, hey, we're measuring the blood ketones with a particular patient client, and they're saying, hey, I'm under 50, maybe even under 30, maybe even under 20, and they're still not able to see the higher numbers. I think that was what she was focused on.
Oh, not higher ketone numbers.
Yeah, right.
Or, okay.
It's like the patient or something not getting into ketosis, even though they seem to be doing everything perfectly, and they're just not getting the blood reading.
Yeah. So the more you follow the ketogenic diet, the easier it gets, and the more sort of benefits you derive from it. And you're also, it takes a while, the keto adaptation phase that Dr. Stephen Finney may have talked about. One of the processes, not only does it upregulate the transporters for your tissues to use ketone for fuel, but you're also upregulating the ketolytic or ketogenic enzymes in your liver. So by following a ketogenic diet, you're enhancing liver ketogenesis, the process of liver ketogenesis over time, if you're doing it right. And then so you will, over time, probably be making more ketones. Most people do. I know me, for example, it was really hard in the beginning. It took about at least 3 to 4 months to reliably see like even 1 to 2 millimolar on the meter, the blood meter. But now, you know, if I take a day and I kind of get out of ketosis for one reason or another, by middle of the day, the next day, I can be quickly back into ketosis, and that was not the case. So I think over time, there's maybe epigenetic effects that, where you have enhanced mitochondrial biogenesis, enhanced mitochondrial efficiency, an increase in ketone production through enhancing the enzymatic pathways. And also, for people that are using this for weight loss, a lot of people think if they follow a ketogenic diet, I don't need to count calories. I don't need to count macros. So a lot of people, are like, no, I'm not, I communicate a lot with the fitness community where they use, I guess what it's called, if it fits your macros, IIFM. So if it fits your macros is like, you work with a dietitian and they assign you, you had 200 grams of carbs today, 150 grams of protein, and just stick with that, eat whatever food you want, but just stay within that macronutrient range, sort of like a Weight Watchers sort of thing where it's like points, but, and there's an app that's popular, if it fits your macros, and that's used by a large population, a large part of the fitness community. When people get on a ketogenic diet, they think that they can throw out this whole idea of counting calories or anything. They really need to, if you're eating something like macadamia nuts or cashew butter or, I make ketogenic ice cream at night. If I'm really hungry, I can shovel a lot of that down my mouth and get a big calorie load, and those excess, whenever you get a calorie surplus, those calories are going to need to be stored. The thing with the ketogenic diet, as it works for most people, is that it inadvertently causes someone to revert back to normal calorie intake.
Absolutely.
Fluctuations in insulin and glucose will stimulate cravings that will trigger you to binge, and those excess calories are sort of damage. And they cause pro-inflammatory spikes in your body. But when your appetite is controlled, with nutritional ketosis, you're much less likely to kind of fulfill those cravings. And you kind of just revert back to a healthy way of eating where your appetite is controlled, where you eat to sustain energy and not eat to fulfill some kind of psychological or physiological deficiency.
And that's what we notice when people go into ketosis and their body works correctly. There's certain things that are released when you break fat down that actually go, I'm not hungry, right? So when I go into ketosis, I'm going, gosh, I forget to eat, right? And so, it's not like I always say you can't get on a caloric restriction diet just pushing food away, because eventually you fail on a diet, right? Caloric restriction that way. But when you go into ketosis, when things are working correctly, you automatically eat less. However, some people, like you said, whether it's emotionally, they don't automatically eat less, right? For whatever reason. And therefore, they're still taking in a lot more food than their body actually needs. and then it wouldn't work for weight loss in that case. So we always say, and we discuss this with Safety, is that ketosis or fasting, create restriction, and eventually the body starts to do the right thing, and eventually people go, oh gosh, I'm such an efficient fat burner, that they really, then we get all the benefits, it seems. But I know that what you said, now what we had noticed for people who aren't getting into ketosis, we're on 3-4 months and they're still not able to break through. We have broken them out of the diet, went back to a healthy, I would say healthy, higher carbohydrate diet, still considered low in America. And then 3 months later, go back into it, and boom, all of a sudden they go right back into ketosis. Because I think you're right. I think something genetically shifts, and they're able all of a sudden to get back in.